Man, I remember when these two units first came out, it put Dokkan back on the map. I don't think Dokkan was really in a bit of a lull period at that point, but the quantum surge in traction and hype that happened when the 7th anniversary started was quite something. And honestly, it did a lot of my, up till maybe the last year or so, a lot of my most well-performing videos were from the 7th anniversary. So these characters doing well was very important for Dokkan. It's like when they say in sports, the Knicks, if the Knicks do well, the industry is in a better place. If the Lakers do well, the industry is in a better place because they're like the big market teams. It's like that. If the 7th anniversary LRs do well, Dokkan is in a better place. And it already shows. I mean, Truth's video was trending. Everybody is, you know, the traction is just all over the place. Just from these two characters getting their announcement. Wait till the data download comes in, the updated battle animations, so you will be able to see animations now for these two characters and their transformed state. You're going to get to see what they can do truly with their new EZAs. We don't know exactly when they're going to be dropping. The data download would confirm that, which will be later on today. So, I mean, there's just so much anticipation. So in this video, I wanted to talk more about hidden potential and how to build the characters. And this is before even testing them out. Normally, testing them out might give you a better indication, but because of how well designed they are, there isn't much of a debate as far as how to build them. But then it's the very minute changes that some people might have differing opinions on. But in general, I think most people will agree on the fundamental basis of how to build these characters. So let's go ahead and once again refresh our memory on these two units. I remember, oh man, I'm just looking at these base builds now. I remember when these units first came out, it wasn't a problem. And in fact, there wasn't enough content for these guys to fully stack and then transform. But over the years, I've noticed that instead of waiting all the way until the 7th turn before we lose the 77%, I've had to resort to transforming as soon as I possibly could. Can be activated starting from the 4th turn from the start of battle. I would have to do this because the cancellation move or the damage reduction abilities of that Gogeta were going to be what I needed, because when 1 turn guard wears off, these guys are flimsy paper towels in the 10-year meta now, pre-EZA, right? So it's going to be nice to not have to deal with that again. The data download's not in, so we can't see the updated information here, but I just wanted to go back and look at that because, man, I'm never going to have to deal with that ever again. In terms of their base builds, once again, both characters function exactly the same. Both units are now covered for guard for 7 turns. They have extra stats, and they have damage reduction and launches an additional super on the 1st turn. So one of the biggest weaknesses when it comes to stacking characters is that initially they got to get the ball rolling. And when they get the ball rolling, then they start to get better. But sometimes they could get nuked or destroyed slot 1, frame 1, not allowing them to do that, which is why characters like Tech Gohan had the extra added insurance of a guard while greatly stacking. So things like this are generally very much appreciated for stacking characters. And considering that the 10-year meta is all about long form content, this is even better. Attack and defense plus 100%. And then we have a nuking passive. We have possibilities for additional supers. We have a pseudo critical effect in the base passive, along with a decent chance to crit with rainbow key spheres. If you pick up 2, then you're basically giving yourself 20% crit chance, which is the equivalent of a 10 critical hit potential build. If you pick up 3, that's 30%. That's the equivalent of a 15 critical build. If you pick up 4, that's 40%. You see where I'm going with that? So they pretty much cover you crit-wise. And so what I'm trying to say is, I don't think you need crit at all in the base build. Some people do feel like in terms of their hit potentials, they like to have a little bit in each section, which is fine. If that's your design philosophy, then by all means do it. I personally just don't think it's required. The chances of you picking up just 1 rainbow key sphere during the course of combat is just so high that that alone covers your 3 dodge or your 3 critical build idea, right? Because with 1 rainbow key sphere, you are getting 10%. That's actually even more than the 3 critical. 3 critical means 6% chance. Rainbow key sphere means 10% chance. So for this guy and for the gods, it is exactly the same thing. I don't think either one of them need crit. Unfortunately, since the tech unit does have a base 5 crit in his build, you can't really avoid that. But besides that, you can move everything else to additionals and dodge. After that, I think there is some variation when it comes to how to build the character. One thing I think is important, and I was very reluctant to do it at first because I love additionals so much, is that the stats, I think, are going to be very significant for these characters, because these units are greatly stacking attack and defense. And since your first and most important priority is to get these guys to transform, along the way, as you're building the stats of the characters, you want to be building as much as possible. Additionals and stats will help you do that. Greatly raising attack and defense, causing colossal. Greatly raising attack and defense, causing mega colossal. Same for the gods. So what I've done with my build, what I did first before I made that final change, was to go for maximum additional and then put the rest into dodge. But then I also used the anniversary equips. I gave a level 9. Okay, it's very hard to see this actually. Hold on, let me switch to this. It's going to be easier to look at this way. So let me go to hidden potential and let me show you all this way. So this is my hidden potential build now. Before this though, I did have an additional in the middle, but I've since changed it and I've put all stats in here. So this guy has 21 additional, 12 dodge. This guy has 26 additional and 12 dodge. All of these stats are going to matter. Even the attack one. The attack one, I think some people would argue it's better to switch to defense, which might be true. The more defense you give, the greater the heal factor, the greater the tanking, the greater the resilience. With all the damaging that we can take nowadays from Golden Frieza, Jiren, with the locking and all that stuff, defense is definitely the better option. But just because I've got so much defense already loaded up with these two slots, I just figured I could throw this in here. These are all anniversary equips, by the way. These are not any other equips other than the ones that are meant for the characters, which can be obtained from the 10th anniversary battle. So these are the only equips that you can get for these characters. For the gods, you've got a level 8, a level 9, crit defense, dodge defense. There's sadly no additional defense. If there was, I would have done that. And then for the gold slot, it would be gold additional, or sorry, it would be additional defense or additional attack. Additional defense is only, oh, I just realized, additional defense is only 600. Additional attack is 900. And then same for the Super Saiyan 4s. You can get these from the 7th anniversary battle. If you guys want to know how to get these done, or if you guys are struggling on this, do check out my video, because I did do this with lesser teams, especially Rapid Growth. Rapid Growth, if you bring Universe 6, since you are fighting Pure Saiyans the whole way through, you will have guaranteed dodge with that Tech Caulifla. That is going to be a great way to not necessarily cheese it, but definitely have more consistency when trying to attempt this. Some people struggled on this. So do check out that video. I'll link it in the description down below. Power absorption, 6 power absorption. I mean, if you just bring the booze, you'll be fine. These events are not on the same level as the 10th anniversary meta. If you guys have been sort of getting run over by the newer content, the red zone where you fight Golden Frieza, Beerus, Jiren, the formidable foe stuff, those are understandably way tougher. These events are slightly upgraded versions of their previous versions, their previous instances. These guys existed on a different level before, and then they updated it this year. So these events are far more doable. Get all of them done for 7th anniversary part 1. That will give you all of the Super Saiyan 4s and the gods stuff. But anyway, back to these builds here. Now, some would argue that for the gods, you might want to put more dodge in there, which I actually do agree. If you do want to go full dodge for the gods, I actually think that that's fine. The reason for that is because the Super Saiyan 4s have another level of defense. It's scouting, and it's the ability to have damage reduction. Damage reduction and scouting is a very powerful combination, because you know where the attacks are going to be. So if you know that you don't want this guy to get hit by a super, well, then that eliminates the threat altogether. But if you do want to have this guy hit by a super, depending on the situation, you could even just directly counter it if the conditions are right. If the enemy's HP is 50% or less, this guy counters it. So the times where this guy is going to be in some sort of a fight or flight situation are going to be far fewer than the blues. And I think that's one of the reasons why most people think that the Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta is the better unit of the two. I personally do agree. I do think that this is a better character overall than the blues. I'm not trying to like put one down or anything, but I just think scouting forever is insanely underrated. This alone makes this unit superior to 99% of the characters in game, but also their counterpart. Over here, we have some combo power. With 7 orbs picked up, we launch an additional super. Great. 20 key or more, launch additional super. Great. When attacking, we have a guaranteed crit, and we have an additional super attack when the enemy's attack or HP is 50% or more. That's great. That's only once though. So combo is the name of the game. You can stack all you want, but with no guard and with no damage reduction. If you get hit with a super attack from someone like Beerus or above, you're still probably in trouble, right? So you need something else. The dodge is what you have. Other than the guaranteed dodge that happens in that special condition, you are relying on your medium chance to dodge, which is 30%, and then whatever dodge you pick up from the rainbow key spheres. So if you were to pick up 5 rainbow key spheres, which is possible, that also means you're not going to be getting like a ton of extra orbs. You're going to be just getting the 5. But if you pick up those 5 rainbow key spheres, you have a total of 80% chance to dodge. If you have been watching my streams recently, if you have been watching my videos, then you know that 80% isn't always going to cut it. It doesn't. Even 92% doesn't cut it. Trust me. It doesn't always work. So with 80% chance to dodge, is that enough? Some people would say yes, some people would say no. I personally think no. So if you were to go for maximum dodge, you can reinforce this unit's longevity in the dodge department just a little bit more. And then this now boils down to how far do you want to go? I've said this recently, the higher your base passive dodge is, the less your hidden potential backup dodge matters. For example, if your dodge chance is 90% on a unit, then that means if you've got 20 dodge in the hidden potential, that 20 dodge in the hidden potential amounts to essentially a 2% increase on your total dodge chance. Your dodge chance goes from 90% to a collective 92% with that extra 20 hidden potential. So if the unit had, I don't know, like a 30% chance to dodge as is passive, medium chance, and you had a 20 dodge in your hidden potential, then that means that you are getting a much bigger boost with that 20 hidden potential. You go from a 30% to a 44% chance, a 14% increase with that 20 dodge hidden potential. So that's how that works. So with that in mind, how much do you want to give your tech gods? For me, for right now, since I'm a team additional nerd, I love additional, I'm gonna leave it like this. It was painful enough for me to get rid of my additional to do this, but when you think about what the gods might put themselves into, I think this would be fine. If you want to go further, by all means do it. If you want to go maximum dodge and then put the rest into additional, that's fine. Honestly, additional may not even be needed for the gods, because did you see how much they can do? They've got all of that extra. Honestly, I think they might have designed this for you to build maximum dodge. Additional super attack, additional super attack, additional super attack. That's 3 additional supers, but normally it would just be 2 on top of your primary super. That's 3 supers. You don't need extra additional. So honestly, I'm kind of talking myself into more dodge, to be honest, but you would be fine with that. I think everyone can agree though, critical is not needed whatsoever in the base form or in the final form. You've got a guaranteed crit here. You get more crit chance with the rainbow orbs that you pick up, and you also have a high chance to crit anyway. So putting 3 crit on your characters, in my opinion, is absolutely meaningless. I do get it. I understand giving a character a chance to do that at all times is cool, but in the base form, you also already have a pseudo crit along with a chance to crit with rainbow key spheres. So you're still covered. I just don't think you need more than that. So there you go. Those are my final build recommendations for these 2 characters. Normally, I would have waited for the part 3 hidden potential guide video to cover everything else. But with how insanely hyped these characters are, I feel like we needed to do an emergency hidden potential video now. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like down below. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on how to build these 2 characters. Do you agree with my takes on how to build these units? Do you disagree? Are you focusing more on dodge, additional? Do you focus more on defense with those stat padding orbs, or are you focusing on a balance between attack and defense? Let me know if there's anything else that I missed in the comments down below. Also, be sure to subscribe for more dope content in the future and click the notification bell so that you'll know you want to see more of my stuff. Do it. Thanks again. Stay tuned, and always remember to Dokkan responsibly.